Come on in. Welcome to Idled Out, where we talk all things Survivor. My name is Luke, and today we're talking about Survivor's worst and least iconic showmances. Showmances, romances on the show, aren't as common on Survivor as they are on other reality TV series because of the whole starving, smelly thing that's going on. So when love does blossom on Survivor, it tends to be pretty memorable and fun to watch. Rob and Amber, Jerry and Colby, Ty and Mark. Survivor romances are just downright iconic. Well, that's what we'd like to think anyway. You've probably completely wiped them from your memory as a defense mechanism, but for every Romber, there's at least 3 or 4 Cole and Jessicas out there, being completely forgettable. And that's if we're lucky. Last week I covered Survivor's greatest and most iconic showmances, but today we're delving deep into Survivor lore in search of the worst and least iconic showmances ever. Surely these can't be that awful, right? I mean, how bad could it get? At number 5 are Keith and Whitney from Survivor South Pacific. Outside of Rob and Amber and Jamie and Eric, Keith and Whitney are the only other pair of survivors to my knowledge who actually met on the island and got married. So, what's the problem? Why is Romber so beloved and Keithney so not so? What, are they just like kind of completely unlikable and unpleasant on the show or something? Or is there some sort of pre-Survivor situation at home, perhaps, that's not a great look? Who's to say? Keith and Whitney started Survivor together on the Savai'i tribe, and quickly copped feelings for one another and started cuddling in the hammock and in the shelter, in full view of everyone. Now, I'll give them credit where credit is due here. Usually being in a showmance is not great for your game, but they very successfully position themselves right at the center of this tribe, despite what should be an obvious target as a power couple. If Savai'i takes control of the game at the merge, well, I legitimately think that Sophie still wins, but if she doesn't, I think Keith or Whitney are the most likely winner from Savai'i. So we can all just be happy that didn't happen. But the games of Keith and Whitney were crumbled by the likeliest of sources, John Cochran. Cochran flipped from Savai'i to Upolu at the merge. This tribe, particularly Keith and Whitney, weren't super duper nice to him. They even stole his blankie in the shelter. It's Cochran's flip which sends her boyfriend out of the game that turns Whitney from under-edited rando to Corinne tier dagger thrower. And into those daggers she poured all her cruelty, her malice, and her will to insult Cochran.
You got a lot to learn, buddy. You disgust me.
Oh, you're mad at someone for lacking loyalty? Okay. Why Survivor didn't turn Whitney into the villain of the season instead of purpling her? I'll never know. Actually, I do know. Whitney had a budding music career, so CBS toned her down as much as possible to protect that. Yeah, this is the toned down version of Whitney. One would think that a pair with 10 confessionals between the two of them would have their CBS reality journey ended by their early and mid-merge exits, but nope. Survivor inexplicably brought these two back to compete on The Amazing Race 25 after completely sandbagging them in the Survivor edit, which has to be some of the strangest crossover returning casting ever in reality TV history, right? I mean, how did this happen? Like, what, Joe and Sydney weren't available? At number 4 is a triple helping of completely uniconic fans versus favorites showmances that were all over by episode 3 at the latest of their respective seasons. That would be Mikey B and Mary in Survivor Micronesia, and the foursome of Reynold, Allie, Eddie, and Hope in Survivor Caramoan. Let's start with the original fans showmance of Mikey B and Mary, a woman famous for being unmemorable, sometimes even to the cast of the season she was on.
Mary. Oh, Mary. Mary. Didn't really know Mary.
Mary. Who?
The romance begins when Mary asks Mikey what is on his back. She's either referring to the ticket stub tattoo or the pimple within. I've never been certain. But whichever it is, she finds it very attractive, and thus the showmance begins. For like a day and a half, Mary and Mikey were not long for this game. Now, I want to give Mikey B a little credit here. I've always sort of randomly liked him, and he got kind of a raw deal. Sure, openly flirting with another player on your tribe is a pretty risky and often terrible move, but the catalyst of Joel flipping the whole tribe against him is because he tries to explain basic Survivor strategy to the brain trust of fans on this tribe. Mikey's episode 2 strategy is to get everyone to split votes between Chet and Tracy, just in case Kathy has an idol. This is completely reasonable and the objectively correct move. Kathy just visited Exile Island, you know, the place where idols live. But the entire concept of splitting votes is so difficult for these alleged fans to grasp that Joel just ends up targeting Mikey and Mary, his own allies, instead of Chet or Kathy. I don't know, Mikey, did you try writing your instructions down on a cave wall or something? Speaking of short-lived fan showmances, 10 seasons later, a new crop of alleged fans would hit the beaches of the Philippines. And literally on night 1, Reynolds paired off with Allie, Eddie paired off with Hope, and the foursome dubbed themselves the Cool Kids Alliance, a very smart and wise thing to do in a tribe of 10. I love that they think they're all being super covert, despite how obviously cliquey they are. Reynolds' literal logic is that no one will see his Allie Lyons coming because she's not even the hottest girl here.
She kind of flies under the radar. She's not the cutest. She's not the anything. She's just cool and there and likable.
Yeah, how'd they catch on to this one? It's a mystery. The Geek Squad, of course, team up to eliminate the cool kids, voting off Allie, then Hope, and ending Reynolds and Eddie's showmance dreams. Until the swap when Eddie tries to showmance Andrea. Must have had dog biscuits in her pocket. At number 3 are Jeff and Kim in Survivor Palau. I just went over some other short-lived early game showmances that are maligned, but Jeff and Kim deserve credit for being the original Survivor showmance that no one ever cared about. No one. Jeff and Kim were both selected to be on the ill-fated Oolong tribe, and within a few days were openly cuddling late at night, a very bold move on the heels of Rob and Amber's complete domination of the game just 2 seasons prior. But who am I kidding? Jeff and Kim hadn't seen Survivor. For the few actual fans on Oolong, Jeff and Kim's late-night cuddle sessions raised some red flags. But Jeff is well-liked amongst his castmates. With Jolanda gone, Oolong desperately needs someone, anyone, to lead the tribe and call the shots. Everyone kinda just looks to Jeff to be that guy, but he refuses and poor Oolong remains rudderless the rest of the game. This is a tangent, but my favorite Oolong really needs a leader moment is when there's a challenge where one tribe mate has to visit Jeff beforehand to make a decision for the tribe. And Oolong can't pick, so they just all show up.
You guys don't have a leader. You can't even pick a representative. Give me somebody.
Kim, however, is not as well liked as Jeff. I'm sure the edit did her no favors here, but she spends what seems to be all of her free time laying around flirting with Jeff, or laying around while others work. She's so disliked that when Jeff trips on a coconut at night and injures his ankle so much so that he can't compete in challenges and asks to be voted out, half of the tribe still vote for Kim to go. It was this vote, I think, that sealed Oolong's fate. If Jeff had stepped up as leader and not stepped on a coconut instead, I think Oolong wouldn't have been the complete and utter disaster it turned into. Any structure at all could have helped this tribe. Of course, none of this really matters at all because nature votes out Jeff super early for Oolong, and Kim follows him out the door right after. Their elimination sandwiched in between the boots of other Survivor legends Ashley Ashby and Willard Smith. Jeff and Kim are notable because this is the first time the show itself really just did not care about a showmance. Colby and Jerry, Greg and Colleen, Rob and Amber, heck, even Alex and Shauna. Survivor made mountains out of these people flirting. Jeff and Kim's relationship was more of a vehicle for good James confessionals than it was a storyline we were meant to care about.
Right now they're cuddling. Next week they're gonna be making out. You know, sucking face and stuff.
Speaking of sucking face. At number 2 are Figgy and Taylor in Survivor Millennials versus Gen X. When it comes to Survivor showmances, few are as outright hated as Figtails. These two are a boomer's wet dream of the lazy, entitled millennial. They're more interested in laying around, flirting, and having fun than working. Figgy and Taylor started the game together on the millennial tribe Vanua, and within days, the making out began. Taylor and Figgy, of course, recognize that their showmance puts a major target on their backs, both with this alliance I call the 4 kinds of Survivor fans you meet on Twitter, and especially with Michaela, who reasonably objects to their late-night lip-smacking.
You got sand in your drawers, and you kissing somebody. That's disgusting.
Despite their obvious showmance and Cool Kids 2.0 minority alliance with Jay and Michelle, Figtails survived the Millennials' first tribal council by flipping the script on Mari. And I'm sorry, but watching the GameBots alliance get outfoxed by a woman who believes dragons exist, a guy who voted correctly like 1 time out of 12, a guy who thinks going to North Dakota makes you worldly, and a woman attracted to Taylor is just truly hilarious. A swap sends Figtails plus Adam over to Takali, where they're given a fresh opportunity to keep their relationship under wraps and their threat levels low. And, mission accomplished. Adam ends up siding with Jess and Ken at this tribe's only tribal council, sending Figgy, by far the bigger threat of the two, home. Then Taylor goes shortly after the merge, officially neutering Figtails for good. But allow me, if you will, to mount a half-hearted defense of Figgy and Taylor. I know, you're really wondering what I'm gonna say, aren't you? Their terrible, hormone-driven gameplay and devil-may-care attitudes were the perfect foil for the GameBots that made up the Millennials vs. Gen X cast. Their desire to just vibe and make out on the beach was honestly a refreshing change of pace from the 3D chess-playing Survivor bots that made up their starting tribe. Anyway, you can't deny that the entertainment value of this season didn't drop once Figgy and Taylor were out of the game. Maybe Figtails was ultimately a good thing for this season, after all? No, I won't be taking any further questions on this. The least iconic, least essential, and least enjoyable showmance ever on Survivor is Adam and Candace's romance in Survivor Cook Islands.
Candace from Roro tribe.
Yeah.
I don't think any Survivor player has ever been more defined by their literal relationships in the game than Candace. From a showmance in Cook Islands with Adam, to playing the game with her husband John in Blood vs. Water, to whatever was going on with Billy, Candace is, and always has been, Survivor's hottest romantic commodity, and it begins right here on the Rero tribe. Adam and Candace's attraction to one another was immediately noticeable to everyone, but their relationship was cut short by an early tribe swap that sent Candace to I2 before their relationship could evolve beyond cuddle puddle status. There's just something about Candace in those early days of Cook Islands. Even people on the other tribes thought they had a connection with her.
I love you. I fell in love in this game. Love at first sight. Her name is Candace.
Fast forward to Final 12, when everyone's given the opportunity to mutiny tribes, which Candace actually does, flipping over to the frat party known as New Rero to swap some spit with Adam. Now you can go on about how Candace strategically mutinied to be with the power players on Rero all you want, but I think we really need to be honest with ourselves here. This is why she mutinied. Mercifully, this season has Exile Island, and Rero decides to punish Candace with trips to Exile at every opportunity they had, so the amount of time she can spend flirting with and/or making out with Adam is limited, as she spends days at a time stranded on Exile to think about what she's done. The making out with Adam is gross, but the behavior of the Rero tribe at the merge is arguably grosser, childishly berating Penner for flipping on them at the merge, which of course is rich coming from a foursome that voted off Brad, Rebecca, and Jenny post-mutiny instead of him. Thanks to Penner's swap, the I-2-4 get control of the game, and with Adam immune, Candace is sent home at Final 8, officially putting an end to the least pleasant showmance in Survivor history. And when she is voted out, Adam gives her a kiss to remember him by. Oh, God. Even Probst is disturbed, as he hits Candace with an all-time zinger on her way out the door.
Well, a kiss is nice. Maybe if it were love, he'd have given you the immunity necklace.
Look, Candace, all I'm gonna say, Billy would have given you immunity. Got nothing else for you. Adam may not have given Candace immunity, but if you like and subscribe, I'll give you more Survivor content just like this. Until next time, don't get idled out.